The downfall of Westminster politics was sealed tonight, as Kier Starmer's career was not merely halted, but explicitly destroyed by his own party's decisive action. A no-confidence vote, orchestrated from within, delivered the final blow in a rebellion that revealed the deep fractures caused by a Brexit betrayal so severe it tore the Labour Party apart at its core. This is the story of how a clandestine agreement in secrecy rapidly dismantled a Prime Minister's authority in real time, and what the aftermath might mean for Britain's future. Just 3 days before, everything had appeared remarkably stable. Starmer was perceived to be in full control. The Labour Party seemed united, and the Brexit issue supposedly resolved. Officially, the government concentrated on vital areas such as the economy, the National Health Service, and living costs. However, behind closed doors, an entirely different narrative was unfolding, one that would bring about Britain's most brutal political upheaval in recent decades. Leaked documents suddenly surfaced, striking the press with the force of an explosion. The disclosures revealed that Starmer had been engaged in covert negotiations with Brussels, not minor adjustments or technicalities, but comprehensive reversals of Brexit's fundamental principles. The leaked files exposed plans to restore fishing rights to the EU, realign trade regulations with European standards, and even, shockingly, to permit European judges to resolve disputes within British territory, the very sovereignty Brexit voters had fought so fiercely to regain. In effect, Starmer was quietly but systematically surrendering Britain's independence, piece by piece. The reaction to these revelations was immediate and intense, echoing a nuclear-level backlash. Surprisingly, it was not the Conservative Party or Reform UK that responded first. Rather, it was Labour's own MPs who turned against their leader within hours. The party's internal WhatsApp groups erupted with outrage. Emergency meetings convened in shadowy committee rooms, and within a single day, something unthinkable occurred. A formal motion of no confidence was filed against Kier Starmer, marking a historic and traumatic milestone for the party. Many senior Labour figures described that day as one of the darkest in the party's history. Some stated it was the moment they realized they had been deceived by the very man they once trusted most. The signatures for the no-confidence motion came swiftly, not only from backbenchers or fringe rebels, but also from senior shadow ministers and veteran politicians who had served under Tony Blair and Gordon Brown. Even MPs who had personally elevated Starmer to prominent roles aligned themselves against him. This was no isolated uprising, it was a full-blown mutiny rooted in a betrayal deemed unforgivable. Within Westminster, the atmosphere grew poisonous and chaotic. Witnesses described scenes of pandemonium, shouting matches in committee rooms that echoed through marble corridors, doors slammed with such force that walls seemed to shudder. Former allies refused to meet each other's gaze, and one aide recalled passing a group of senior Labour figures when hearing one mutter sharply, "He's finished. We're not going down with him." Another insider characterized the mood as the party turning its own gun on itself, though in this case, everyone was holding a finger on the trigger simultaneously. This rebellion was not driven by any one faction or ideological bloc. Instead, it stemmed from a shared sense of betrayal that united diverse factions within the party, each opposing what many saw as a heartbreaking capitulation. The internal storm shook the very foundations of Westminster politics, leaving uncertainty about what lies ahead for the future of Britain's leadership and Brexit process. It was an eruption of chaos that seemed to ignite unexpectedly. Across every faction within the party, be it the left, the center, the Blairites, or the Corbyn supporters, members united in sheer fury, their outrage boiling over in unison. The motion gained momentum with relentless speed, like an unstoppable avalanche gathering force, until the gravity of the situation became clear to everyone in Parliament. By then, it was already too late to halt the storm brewing. As Westminster plunged into a state of internal conflict, the nation watched in a mixture of shock and growing indignation. The tension was tangible, spilling out into the streets where the anger was unmistakable. In northern towns such as Sunderland, Hartlepool, and Grimsby, places that had swung their support to Labour in 2024 with the hope of safeguarding Brexit, the feelings ran deep. Voters there felt betrayed at their core. For these communities, the political disagreements were anything but abstract debates. They were rooted in real, lived experiences. These towns had embraced the vote to leave the European Union, trusting their local labor representatives to uphold that decision. Now, many felt abandoned and deceived. A fisherman from Grimsby, voice trembling with rage, told reporters, "We voted to take our country back in 2016. We placed our faith in labor to defend that choice, and now look, they're trying to give it away again. We'll never forget this." His words struck a chord, becoming a rallying cry for a swelling movement of disillusioned voters. Within hours, the anger spilled onto social media platforms. Hashtags like #StopStarmer and #Brexit betrayal surged to the top of trending lists. Videos circulated rapidly, capturing scenes of furious constituents confronting their MPs with frustration and resolve. Memes mocking Starmer flooded timelines, and outside Parliament, protests grew by the hour. By early evening, what had begun as hundreds of demonstrators swelled into thousands, with Union Jack flags fluttering in the chilly air. Chants of "Traitor, traitor" echoed through Parliament Square as banners proclaiming "Respect Brexit" and "Starmer betrayed Britain" lined the gates. The anger had transcended individual figures. It was now a fight over democracy itself. Millions of voters had cast their ballots for a cause they believed in, only to see their leaders dismiss or ignore their voices once again. Meanwhile, political rivals to Starmer detected an opportunity. Nigel Farage appeared on nearly every major news broadcast shortly after the vote was announced, delivering a harsh and unmistakable message. Karma is the ultimate betrayer of Brexit. Labour's true face has finally been revealed. They never respected the will of the people, and now everyone can see it. Reform UK's poll numbers soared overnight, with their support doubling in key constituencies. The Conservative Party, still reeling from its own internal crises, suddenly found itself with newfound ammunition, as if the political landscape had shifted overnight. Meanwhile, within Labour itself, chaos was unfolding. Leadership contenders began positioning themselves, making discreet phone calls to donors, and holding quiet meetings with union officials. Rivals hurried to carve out their own spaces, knowing full well that the party was on the brink of internal fracture. It wasn't merely a leadership struggle, it was a potential civil war in the making. One political analyst succinctly summarized the crisis. "This isn't just a leadership challenge, it's an existential meltdown. If Labour doesn't achieve stability swiftly, the party could shatter beyond repair." Then the decisive moment arrived. The chamber was packed to capacity, every seat occupied, with the press gallery overflowing. An intense silence filled the room, the weight of the moment palpable. As MPs moved into the lobbies to cast their votes, the atmosphere grew tenser still, a deafening quiet suffusing the space. The outcome of this pivotal vote would determine the future direction of the party, and perhaps the fate of the nation itself. There were no cheers, no boos, just the solemn sound of footsteps and the heavy weight of history pressing down. When the speaker finally rose to announce the election results, the entire nation seemed to hold its collective breath in anticipation. As the numbers were read aloud, a ripple of gasps spread through the room. Starmer had lost, not by a narrow margin, nor just a handful of votes, but by a substantial enough difference to clearly signal that his leadership had come to an end. Some members of Parliament sat completely stunned, their faces expressionless, while others quietly slipped out through side doors, avoiding the cameras that waited outside. A few individuals couldn't hide their tears. Their grief was not merely for Starmer, but for what their party was becoming. Meanwhile, Starmer himself remained motionless, sitting upright in his seat, fixating on a point straight ahead, as if refusing to accept the harsh reality unfolding around him. In moments, news alerts flooded phones across Britain, announcing the breaking story. Starmer ousted in a historic no-confidence vote. Social media platforms erupted with reactions, and news anchors hurriedly adjusted their scripts to keep pace with the rapid developments. Outside Parliament, crowds of protesters cheered triumphantly, celebrating what they saw as a fresh start. Yet what makes this moment particularly perilous for Britain is that it is about far more than just the fall of a single politician. Beneath the surface lies a deeper, more corrosive issue: trust. trust in politicians, in the institutions of Parliament, and in the very principle that when voters cast their ballots, their chosen leaders will respect and fulfill their mandates. Currently, that trust lies in ruins across the country. The Labour Party is plunging into chaos, fractured into bitter factions. Some factions argue for a return to traditional socialism, claiming that Labour lost its moral compass the moment it abandoned its working-class roots. Others advocate for a centrist reset, believing the way forward involves rebuilding credibility with business interests and international allies. This internal strife has turned into open warfare, with rival leadership campaigns launching even before Starmer's departure was a reality. Accusations of betrayal fly back and forth, each side blaming the other for the party's descent. While Labour is tearing itself apart, Reform UK is gaining ground. Nigel Farage seizes every headline, every scandal, and every moment of turmoil to expand his influence. If Labour continues to collapse and Reform fills the political void, Britain's entire political landscape could be irrevocably transformed. The long-standing two-party system that has dominated for generations might soon come to an end. As dawn broke over Westminster, Kier Starmer left Downing Street for the final time. Camera flashes flickered ceaselessly as protesters gathered behind barriers, shouting defiant slogans at the man who once vowed to stabilize British politics. His mission to restore trust, to mend divisions, ended with him walking into history, its latest casualty. His downfall was not orchestrated by opposition parties, but resulted from his own actions. Secret negotiations, broken promises, and a dangerous underestimation of the anger among those he claimed to serve. He believed he could betray Brexit voters without consequences. That assumption proved catastrophically wrong. Now a haunting question lingers in the air. If Brexit could bring down yet another major political figure, who will be next? This story is far from over. Labour's leadership race is on the brink of erupting into the most vicious internal conflict the party has ever seen. Reform UK is experiencing a notable rise in popularity within recent polling data, signaling a significant shift in public sentiment. Meanwhile, the Conservative Party is actively preparing to respond, strategizing their next move in this evolving political landscape. The repercussions of this particular electoral development are expected to resonate deeply within British politics, with lasting effects that could influence the country's political trajectory for many years to come. To stay informed about every twist and turn, every strategic move, and each new upheaval in the political arena before it makes headlines, it's crucial to follow the unfolding events closely. Now, I would like to hear your honest opinion. Do you believe that Starmer's decline was truly deserved, or was Labour's leadership making a strategic miscalculation that could be seen as political suicide? Your perspective could offer insights into what might happen next, shaping the dialogue around these developments. Let's discuss your thoughts in the comments below.